Sunday night when blogger Jay Frais was involved in a shooting incident at popular soca party Big Wall held on the grounds of Randy Williams Entertainment Center on Hope Road in St. Andrew. 3 people remained in hospital this morning after being shot during the incident. Jay Frais, whose given name is J.D. Richards, spent the night in custody over his role in the incident. According to witnesses to Sunday's shooting, members of the entourage of DJ 450 approached Jay Frais aggressively. It's alleged that at some point during the argument, a member of the entertainer's entourage struck the blogger in the face. Witnesses say following this, a weapon was drawn and at least 6 shots were fired. When contacted, the police told our news center that investigations are at a preliminary stage. But a police source did say the version of events told to our news center is consistent with early reports collected by the police. Hundreds of disappointed patrons trooped out of the venue on Sunday, many cursing organizers for the turn of events. The incident marred what otherwise was a successful Carnival Sunday, which featured the road march through the streets of the corporate area. And the Jamaica Carnival 2026 was good for business. That's the initial assessment of President of the Jamaica Chamber of Commerce, Emil Leiber.
Yes, I would say anecdotally, certainly anything that generates economic activity is generally good for business. And so certainly service providers would have provided services, in respect of the activities, goods and so on. And so, yes, I would say that it would have been good for business. Depending on the nature of your business, perhaps the alcohol business and otherwise more than others.
Carnival activities culminated on Sunday with the traditional Road March parade. Prior to this, there were several parties at numerous spots across the island. There are reports that players in the Airbnb industry cashed in due to the overwhelming demand for accommodation. Leiber says transportation was also among the services that was highly requested by both locals and visitors.
Well, those who provide trucking, transportation, tents, bar services, food services, certainly the venues that had been utilized for the events, those should have also seen an uptick in activity. So overall, yes, it should have been a positive effect.
Emil Leiber, President of the Jamaica Chamber of Commerce. Inefficient human resource policies in the public healthcare system play a significant role in driving nurses to migrate. So says Nurses Association of Jamaica, Dawn Marie Richards.
There's the impression that compensation review would have made nurses stay. It hasn't made us stay. Those of us who don't have any ambition are still here, but it hasn't made us stay. I have to say it like that because that is what some people tell us, that we don't have any ambition, that's why we stay here. As I say, the policies of HR are frustrated persons out of the job. So you are appointed as a level 1 registered general nurse. You go and you do a post-basic training in midwifery, psychiatry, accident and emergency, operating theatre, whatever it is. There's no post to appoint you in. Or if there's a post, somebody is sitting in the post who did admin but can't move up because there's no sister post. And the challenges go on and on.
Richards was speaking during a recent visit to the office of the Prime Minister in St. Andrew. Health Minister Dr. Chris Tufton revealed last year that on average, 500 nurses, including specialists, have left the system each year since 2018. Nurse Richards says even new graduates are facing challenges.
Prior to this, we used to employ people temporarily. So they are employed on a temporary, it's called a temporary employment, but they are employed and they would be paid as registered nurses. We don't have that system anymore. You must be aligned to a post. Some of the dynamics we really would want persons to sit and understand and don't look at things just so. We have factors that are going against the employment of the new graduate. There are a lot of factors out there.
Dawn Marie Richards, President of the Nurses Association of Jamaica. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness says he has taken note of the concerns raised by the NAJ boss.
It's very important that I hear, how do you see it? And then I try to understand how other people see it. Maybe there is something that is a balance of interest. Maybe the interests of the nurses have to be balanced against some other interests. Yeah. And that's usually so I have to. This is what I'm saying always, let me get the understanding. So it's when you put the ideas in writing, a little bit more cogent, and then I can go on here, and that's how we make changes. So though I listen to you, and emotionally I'm drawn to your arguments, I also have to be prepared to listen to the other arguments logically.
Dr. Andrew Holness, Prime Minister. Minors who enter guilty pleas in order to access the child diversion program could have those could have that decision used against them later on. Children's advocate Diane Gordon Harrison raised the concern as she made recommendations to strengthen the Child Diversion Act.
If the child pleads guilty, is then referred to a child diversion committee by the court, but for whatever reason is deemed to have faltered whilst on the program and has to be brought back before the court, the guilty plea that has been recorded against the child prior to the referral stands and in practical terms can be used in the proceedings against the child. The process then becomes less advantageous to the child as he or she would be deprived of the opportunity to explore a defense at trial, and the issue of withdrawing a plea is left within the discretion of the court. Thus, in our submission, prejudicing the child's right to a fair trial where they are deemed to have failed to satisfactorily complete the diversion program.
The proposal was submitted to a joint select committee of Parliament reviewing the Act last week. Under Section 11(2)(b) of the Act, the court dismisses the charge after the minor successfully completes a specific child diversion program. But according to Gordon Harrison, the guilty plea is inconsistent with the intentions of the Act.
A guilty plea results in the child having a criminal conviction recorded against him, which is incongruent with the intention of this section. Once there is a conviction, the court would be left with the shambolic shenanigans and various inconsistent and perhaps impractical options to then seek to retroactively dismiss the case against the child. So again, we ask that it be made categorically clear that yes, we must accept responsibility to benefit, but that does not mean entering a plea of guilty.
Meanwhile, the children's advocate is recommending that police interviews involving minors be conducted in the presence of a counselor.
Incorporate into Section 27(2) a requirement that where a constable is conducting the interview of a child victim to assess the impact of the offense on him or her so that he can know whether he's going to agree with diversion, that this interview be done in the presence of a counselor who has experience working with children and not just in the presence of the parent or guardian. The parent or guardian may not be suitably qualified in assessing victim impact, or may be qualified but so overwhelmed by the circumstances affecting their child and thus impeded in their ability to dispassionately and appropriately guide their child.
Diane Gordon Harrison, children's advocate, she was speaking last week during a joint select committee of Parliament reviewing the Child Diversion Act. As the opposition PNP continues to face heat for the tax exemption scandal involving Dennis Gordon's company, Jack Den Limited, political analyst Lloyd B. Smith believes Mark Golding's handling of the matter was ineffective. According to Smith, the PNP president and opposition leader was not proactive when confronted with the crisis.
Well, I think the perhaps greatest fault of the opposition leader is his seeming inability to be more proactive. I think especially in this current climate of social media and the way in which information can be used for and against you, it would have behooved him to, move swiftly. The moment a crisis develops in his party with any one of his colleagues that may well bring the party into disrepute, then he should act swiftly and take decisive action rather than to allow the thing to just stay there and become a sort of political football.
Gordon is the Member of Parliament for East Central St. Andrew. It was confirmed that his company was among 4 firms that benefited from the misuse of the tax exemption status held by the University Hospital of the West Indies. According to the Auditor General, the issue deprived the Treasury of millions of dollars in tax revenue. Smith says Mark Golding's belated action was perhaps dictated by public opinion.
So even now that he has made a decision to remove the MP from certain pivotal posts, it has been done belatedly, and so the effectiveness of those decisions has been dissipated. So I think he needs to realize that swift action is always the best way to go, and he must be on top of his game and not allow for public opinion to dictate in the final analysis what he does or does not do.
Lloyd B. Smith. Meanwhile, another political commentator, Jermaine Barrett, is describing the PNP's initial silence on the issue as detrimental.
But ultimately, it was not timely enough. Insofar as when the controversy broke in January, there was not any action. There was silence on the part of the People's National Party, and that was detrimental because it created an opportunity for public sentiment to sort of arise and ultimately a rebuke of the opposition leader for his untimely and management of the issue. So I don't think it would have been detrimental for the opposition leader simply to ask Dennis Gordon to step aside until there is clarity on the matter and ultimately return when it is that there has been sufficient vindication of him.
Barrett is supporting the decision to remove Dennis Gordon from the PAC and shadow cabinet.
Those are both appropriate actions. There's not much else that he could have done. Certainly, he can't dismiss him as a member of parliament, or a legislative arrangement does not permit that.
Jermaine Barrett, political commentator. There's been a slight uptick in homicides in the St. James Policing Division.